All right, Joe Joe in the morning, family. Hope everybody is having a really, really good day. I just want to talk a little bit to you today about God's calling. Everybody on planet Earth has a calling from God upon your life. Jeremiah 1:5, before I was even formed in my mother's womb, God preordained me to be a prophet. God has called, anointed, and ordained you to be something. You know, they say that there's no fingerprint that is the same. If God put that much detail in your fingerprint, don't you think He would have put something powerful on your life? Every single person on planet Earth has gifts, talents, and amazing abilities. I think one of the saddest things that I see in people's lives is how many people are not happy with life. They're not satisfied with life. They're frustrated with life. And that is because they have never had somebody guide them, lead them, mentor them, train them. And then on their own, they didn't really dive into what God had for them. If you ever see somebody who's mad and frustrated and they allow you to take a deep dive into their life and you're talking to them, man, I don't know why, but when I was 4 years old, I mean, in the fourth grade, I always liked this. Or when I was like 4 years old, I always wanted to be this. And then my parents said, no, son, you need to be this. And it was just, somewhere along the way, somebody said something and verbally they put a roadblock in front of you and you took a detour. So many people, I remember this one guy I used to go to church with. He said, man, when I was a kid, I loved playing Army. I loved playing Army and I always wanted to be in the Army. I love Army movies. I love war movies. And he said, I just kind of felt that was my calling for our nation. And then when I got older, people were like, oh, you're smart. You need to go to college. And he said, man, in college, I said, man, I wish I'd went in the Army. This guy's like 35 years old. And he said, I still to this day wish I would have went in the Army. He said, I love my life and, my job's okay, but I just wished I would have. I've talked to so many people who are in businesses and different things, and they're like, I love our business, or, it's okay, but I've always wanted to do ministry. And, just and vice versa. I'm in ministry, but I always wanted a business. How you can be in ministry and a business? I've seen so many people in life who are successful because they're using their God-given abilities, but they're not in God's calling for their life. When you get in the middle of God's calling for your life, you will find a peace, a serenity. Jesus on the bottom of the boat was asleep when a storm was going on. When you're in the middle of God's calling and God's will for your life, you will have peace in the midst of a storm. If you're not in God's perfect will and plan for your life, you'll be all emotional when it's not even that bad because you're not walking in the supernatural provision that God intended. See, I believe, and I know that God, gives gifts, talents, and abilities to everybody, but He also puts desires, dreams, visions, goals, prophetic words inside of us. That's why when I pray kind of like Matthew 6:10, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I say, God, your kingdom come, your will be done in my life. I pray, God, that you would put dreams, aspirations, goals, visions in my heart. Speak to me, Lord God. Let me see in the spirit what you want me to do so I can carry it out until I see it in the natural to be fully manifested. And I really believe that whatever you can see in your spirit, you can hold in the natural. Okay? And you have to understand this. The happiest people on planet Earth, they are in the very center of God's will. I remember one time I was listening to an interview by this baseball player, and he was a real good baseball player. And it was Jason Giambi. And he played for, I think, the Oakland A's and the New York Yankees. And they were interviewing him one time. I don't know anything about him, about his life or anything, but they were interviewing him on a kids show, and they said, "What did you want to be when you were 5?" He said, "Baseball player, first baseman." "What did you want to be when you were in junior high?" "Baseball player, first baseman." "What did you want to be in high school?" "Baseball player, first baseman." What did you want to be when you were 25? "Baseball player, first baseman." "What did you want to be when you were 30? "Baseball player, first baseman." It never changed. Never changed. I remember one of my daughters had this one teacher. They had her, back-to-back years. And she said, when I was a little girl, when I was in kindergarten, first grade, my hero was always my teachers. I always wanted to be a teacher. That's all I've ever wanted to be. I've never deviated from what I wanted to be. She said, I've taught, I think she taught school for 30 years, retired. And she said, I've lived my dream. That's what I wanted to do. I know people who say, I know these ladies who've said, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. Like when I was little, I dreamed of being a stay-at-home mom and having 3 kids. I know people that said, when I was a kid, I dreamed about being a medical doctor. I've talked to so many people who are living their dream. You can be a multimillionaire, but not living your God dream, and you won't be happy. You've got to do what you're called to do. And so my goal in life, and it's where I'm at, people say, if you could do anything with your life, what would you want to do? And I say, I'm doing it. Like, I'm doing what I want to do. And they say, how did you get there? And I said, well, I asked the Lord, what do you want me to do? I remember when I was 40, I got before the Lord late one night in our prayer room at our old house. And I said, God, I'm 40 years old. I've done a lot of things in life that I kind of wanted to do when you blessed it. I just want to go completely in on what you want. Like, I'm laying my life down right now. I'll do anything. I'll go anywhere. I'll do whatever you've called me to do. And the Lord said, what are 5 things that are in your heart right now? And I named them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That next day I started on all 5 of them. He said, do what's in your heart. Because I prayed, God, put your desires in my heart. And as time goes on, I would ask and God would put something in my heart. Like, I don't jump on good ideas. I move on what's in my heart. I remember one day, a friend of mine called and he said, I got something crazy to talk to y'all about. It was me and 2 more guys. Okay, there's 3 of us. One of the most well-known pastors in America. A lot of people call him a father of revival. He's led massive movement. He called my friend and said, hey, I need 3 people. I need a youth pastor, a young adult pastor, and a worship leader. He told my friend on this call, said, hey, I want you to be the worship leader. And he told this other guy, he said, you'd be perfect for youth. And Joe, you ought to be perfect for young adults. He knows who you are. And he said, if you want it, the job is yours. This guy was one of my heroes, still is to this day. And I was like, oh, this is a dream come true. This guy led one of the biggest revivals for years in Florida. This is a dream come true. And the Holy Spirit said, I want you to stay in Texarkana. Okay. And my friend said, are you sure? I said, he said, stay here in Texarkana. I don't know why. 2 years later, he said, hey, start Roar Church. And so I did what the Lord said. And I love it. There's another great revival movement that has hundreds of interns and, people flock to from all over America to their conferences, and they asked me to come on staff. And the Lord said, you can work there if you want to. And I said, well, and he said, I'll bless it. But my God calling for you is, and I'm like, okay, Lord. And I stayed here. I could have took numerous positions, just numerous positions and places that I would have loved to work, that looked great on the outside looking in. But the Lord said, no, this is what I want you to do. And And the thing I tell people is I have so much joy in life. I have so much peace in life. My wife and I are living the life that God has called us to live. That's it. No amount of money can replace that. No amount of friends can replace that. No amount of success in anything can replace the joy that we have knowing we are in the very center of God's will. To get to the God calling in your life, learn to always say yes. I had a younger minister come sit down in my office at the church recently, and he said, man, Joe, the church I work at is getting off. I said, getting off? But I said, brother, your church has been off. And he said, but man, I make pretty good. They gave me some pretty good benefits and a salary. And I said, yeah, but you and your wife are so unsatisfied. I can see it on your face. Y'all talk about every night that you wish you could leave and do something else. And the Lord is telling you to leave. He said, how did you know? I said, your countenance. Listen, your face and your countenance speaks louder than your mouth ever will. You can look at someone's countenance and tell a lot by them. He said, yeah, and although the pastors on staff are the same way. And I said, you got to follow the Lord. If you want true joy and happiness and peace, follow the Lord. There's always wisdom and provision on the other side of you saying yes to God's voice. My wife, one of her many sayings that she has, and she has a lot of them, is, God, you always have my yes before you even ask the question. And that's it. My friends, I'm telling you today, there's a God calling upon your life. Go after the things of God and just throw your life radically into God. And I promise you, you'll never regret it. Okay? I love y'all. Reckless abandonment towards the things of God. And there's no telling where you're going to end up with the Lord. It's going to be great. Okay? Hey, if you want prayer, you want to know about our books, our resources, where you can partner with our ministry, and I thank all of our partners, or about our mentoring program, go to the website joejoedawson.net. You can find anything you want to know about us. Love y'all.